Hey, we're Daniel and Bonnie.
And this is The Marriage Adventure. Not too long ago, we were at home just kind of vegging on a Saturday, and the kids and I were sitting on the couch. I was kind of just changing channels on the TV, and the movie Titanic was on. My kids had both just studied about the Titanic in school. Well, those were our kids. And they had just studied about Titanic in school, and that's typically not a movie I'm going to let them watch, especially at 8 and 10 years old. But it was past all the adult love story stuff, and it was right at the point of the movie where the boat was starting to sink. And I was like, man, they'll find this interesting, because they were reading about it and studying about it. So I stopped there, and we started to watch it, and they were interested in it. It was really cool for them to see, to be able to put a visual with what they had studied. I didn't remember, though, this one scene in the movie. It's the scene, if you've seen it, where they're going back after the ship had sunk in lifeboats finding survivors. And it's a pretty creepy scene, because all the dead people in the water, they're all discolored, and they're just kind of got that weird dead person face on their face. And Colby all of a sudden just closed his eyes and turned his head and said, "Daddy, you gotta turn it, you gotta turn it, you gotta turn it." And I'm like, what? Oh man, I didn't even realize this would bother them. Like,
good job, Dad.
Dad of the year right there. And so I turned it, and tears coming down. He's like, I can't get them out of my eyes. I can't get them out of my mind. And I keep thinking about them. And even that afternoon, hours later, and then that night when we were putting him to bed, he's like, "Daddy, I just can't stop seeing that." And I thought, that's a great lesson for us all.
Well, we realize we need to filter our children's content, what they watch. We're very careful about what they watch. But Proverbs 4:23 has a word for all of us in that area. It says, "Guard your hearts with all diligence, for from it flow the well springs of life." And that's basically saying whatever we put in, whatever we dwell on and think on, it's going to become part of who we are. It's going to affect our thought process. It's going to affect eventually our actions. So we've got to be so careful to guard what we allow to come into our lives, even as adults.
Scripture gives us a verse that basically kind of acts like a filter for what we should put in our minds and put in our hearts. It's Philippians 4:8. It says this. It says, whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is of good report, basically whatever is pure, think on these things. And what a great verse to print out, to put on your TV, to put on your computer, to put in your mind, and to put into your heart, that if anything comes across the internet, if anything comes across that TV that's not pure, then I shouldn't be thinking on that. Basically, if Jesus was sitting right here with me, would I watch that? Because he is. If he lives in your heart, he's with you.
Well, we don't need to just watch what comes into our heart through the things we see, but also the things that we hear and the things that we allow to influence us. I know I can be so caught up sometimes in social media posts and what people look like or how great was their vacation, and I want to compare myself, and it affects my thinking. Yeah. And I have friendships that if I'm not careful, they can affect how I view myself, how I view my spouse, how I view my world around me. We've got to guard the content that comes into our lives, because that's how we're going to act towards each other. That's how we're going to act and respond to the people around us, is based on what we are putting into our heart. It eventually is going to come out.
Guard your heart, guard your mind, and like us on Facebook, Instagram, subscribe to this channel, and have a great adventure. We'll see you next time.